I'm at Elite Fitness. Is it Elite Fitness? How we call
Team
it?
Elite, we call it.
Team Elite. I'm here with Andy Brocklebank. Andy, basically, what do you do? You run MMA classes. Obviously, I know you got Thai boxing. What else do you do here?
Yeah, so we are traditionally we used to be Thai boxing only, and then as we progressed and MMA became more popular, and towards the end of my fight career, I moved over to mixed martial arts as well, and eventually, we took the plunge into MMA like everyone did. A lot of the traditional martial arts kind of like falling by the wayside, if you like, the old school like the Karate Kid and all that, like we used to watch when we were kids.
Big thing that now, though, isn't it?
Well, it is coming back actually.
Have you found anyone that coming in through karate because of that?
No, do you know? To be honest, in the modern day now, I would say that the kids come in and they say like, I want to be Conor McGregor. So they're coming in straight away, at like 6 years old or whatever, and just straight away saying like, oh, I want to be like Conor McGregor. Whereas, traditionally when I was, first hearing about it, I'd had, like, let me see how many years, maybe about 10 years of Thai boxing experience before I started to learn how to grapple. So I kind of come into like the traditional way, if you like, where I'd done Thai boxing and boxing, because I had a boxing and Thai boxing career running at the same time, albeit though the boxing career was the minority. Nevertheless, it complements obviously your Thai boxing anyway. So like I always say now, that boxing is the core component of any kind of fighting, because a fight can start and finish with one punch. So if you don't know how to box, it doesn't matter how good your wrestling is then.
That's true.
So now it's not really like that, where you get the kids saying like, oh, well, do you know what? Funny, I just can't contradict myself here. I've just had a kid come say, oh, his dad said, oh, he's done 4 years of jiu-jitsu. We're thinking of getting him into this now. To be honest, though, that's the minority. Now the kids just come in as blank canvases. They want to learn MMA, so that their learning is split over their boxing and the Thai boxing as the main striking arts. Their wrestling and the Brazilian jiu-jitsu as the grappling arts. And to be honest, I much prefer it as a coach that I have the kids like that, because with being a blank canvas, it's really, really easy to teach them and coach them. Whereas, if they've come from, I don't know, a boxing background for 4 years or 5 years or whatever, and then the grappling is totally new to them. Or sometimes, like that kid we just mentioned, then he comes from Japanese jiu-jitsu and has not done any kind of Brazilian jiu-jitsu or any kind of wrestling. So when they're young, it's not that big of a thing to fix them, if you like, or kind of adapt them, I should say. But it is quite tough when you get an adult who's done like, oh, I did Krav Maga for 20 years and I want to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and then they start like trying to poke people in the eye, like saying, no, man, we can't do that now. But it's very, very different to how it used to be, to say the least.
Do you reckon, as it there's someone else that I know that's into like done MMA fighting and stuff, and they said it usually it's really boosted because of Conor McGregor? Is that definite?
It is, yeah. I mean, although it's a little bit cliche, that any kind of like big superstar, whether he was good or a bit more bad, kind of at the moment, eyes on the sport are always a good thing. The kind of numbers he gets when he fights and the kind of interest he generates, it was unprecedented before him. Obviously now you've got lots of other people who've come after him, but I don't think anyone's ever got to the level that he did. I mean, I'm sure some will surpass him, but when you're getting them on that kind of global stage, because you would always think sports like football, especially now the World Cup being on, football players are much more well known than, say, like a professional mixed martial artist would be.
Yes.
But Conor McGregor is definitely an exception, and if one can do it, then you would think that others can do it, and he's kind of like paved the way, if you like, for all of these young kids to come up behind him and maybe even overtake him.
I think like my sport is basketball, and when Michael Jordan came in the scene in the NBA, he took it to a whole new level. And I think basketball now, because of him, has just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that's the same thing with UFC, because UFC's been going on for quite a while.
I think 1993. I was just thinking then, as you were saying about basketball, that in the 90s I was a basketballer.
Yeah.
When you get to high school, and obviously you get opened to different sports, because as a young kid growing up, you just play football all the time. And of course, you get to high school and you've got a track and you can throw the javelin and sprinting and basketball and cricket and all that stuff. And I ended up getting into basketball a lot. And I was in, the Birkdale team, and I ended up playing for Sefton. I was in the first 5, so I was at a relatively decent level. I remember obviously like Michael Jordan and everyone like would fight over getting the cool Michael Jordan shoes and all that stuff, and I was never lucky enough to get them, but thankfully I didn't need them.
I know.
But I know what you're saying, that when there's been somebody who kind of breaks the mold and takes it to that next level, everybody kind of jumps on the coattails and wants to be involved. And no, it's never a bad thing, because it just brings more attention to the sport that you love. So people like Conor McGregor, like I say, I know he's not getting so much positive attention at the moment now, but nevertheless, it's attention. Yeah. So it's good for us who are involved in the sport. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, because I think I heard on another podcast that I think he's got, of all the most viewed fights ever, ever watched on the UFC, I think he still holds the record.
Yeah,
I think he's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out the 6, definitely.
I could believe it. Yeah. Like I say, name. He's just such a big name, and he's still a big name now. I mean, I even heard talk of some of the lads in the gym were saying he's making a comeback fight, and he'd even. There was even something about Makachev, who's Khabib's, kind of number 1 man who he's just brought up and won the title. There's even been a proposal of, if he comes back and fights Makachev and beats him, Khabib would let him fight him again.
Oh, right.
So Khabib. Okay. So I don't know if it's true or not, but obviously you hear all the rumblings and the rumours from the lads talking in the gym and videos you see on YouTube or whatever. But I don't know whether he would or not, but I don't know if you've seen McGregor now. He seems to have put on about 10 stone.
Yeah, he looks massive, doesn't he?
I'm not sure he'd pass the drugs test, shall we say. But it's...
Did they do drug testing in
Oh, yeah, it's very strict. It's very strict in mixed martial arts. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you're up at the top level, they have, all the drug testing is very, very strict, very, very stringent. Did
they have to be clean for quite a period of time?
Yes.
I'm sure that some people that I'm not going to mention names on here, but I know that I've gone into UFC at a high level. I'm sure from their background, they were on steroids.
Yeah.
Well, a particular wrestler that came across.
Yeah, well, it's like anything. It's a case of, if people are injured and they're going to take things which are going to help them to repair from injuries and get back in there, then when they're in the off season, so to speak, then and they're not competitive, they probably are going to take them.
Yeah. I think that's across the whole board.
Yeah, I mean, that's anything. I mean, some of the football players have done just recently, haven't they, about getting growth hormone and fat strippers to try and keep the weight down, so obviously they can run and have better cardio. I'm sure it goes on in all sports, and I think it'd be very naive to say fighters don't take performance-enhancing drugs. Of course they do, but if they are doing it off season, so to speak, like I say, to heal from injuries, and then during the competitive phase, and they're not taking it, then I don't think that it's going to be a problem. That's what Conor McGregor's going to obviously say now, isn't it? That he's going to probably say first of all that he's grown all his muscles naturally, but I don't think he has personally.
No, not that quick.
No, not that quick. No.
From my background, I mean, it can be done, but usually to put on that kind of muscle. I mean, don't forget, he probably will get the best nutrition stuff. I mean, he doesn't look too out of there. So, there could be a possibility, but the chances are he probably has taken some kind of advantage. Yeah,
but again, if he fights in 6 months and, and he goes through and he passes his drug test, then, fair play to him. Yeah. But I'm not a fan, especially when people can literally, get beaten half to death, or sometimes in very unfortunate circumstances actually die. Then having those kind of advantages is obviously a big no-no.
Yeah, but it's because of it all, it's become massive now, isn't it? Mixed martial arts, but obviously you've got your setup here, but it's becoming quite a popular thing, because back in the day, when we had gyms and that, you might have a couple of backstreet ones, but they seem to be popping out everywhere. It's starting to become like a big thing now in the fitness industry.
Definitely more mainstream. I mean, only on Southport, in this little sleepy town, on one street, you have basically all the martial arts, which is very strange. Obviously, here on Shakespeare Street, you've got us. And then when we go across the roundabout, of course, you've got Imperial over there, where they have the Muay Thai with Jack Kennedy. In the same building, you have, of course, Lucio, who's the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. And then, of course, you've got Tony Chan as well, of course, just a little bit, who's traditional Muay Thai. So, for a little town, there's 4 facilities within literally a stone's throw of each other. So it's very unusual, really.
Yeah, it's like a lot of the big gyms now are incorporating this type of training now, aren't they?
Oh yeah, having it inside.
Yeah, maybe not so much like the leisure centres like a David Lloyd's, but definitely some. I mean, obviously like the warehouse, they're having it alongside it, so it is becoming like another way of getting people fit. And do you find people come as well just for fitness, or do they actually come for competing?
To be honest, mate, no. Competition and being a fighter is the huge minority.
Yeah.
Most people come for fit. Well, our motto is fitness, fun, self-defense.
Yeah.
You don't get many people, and my coach Phil always used to say this, for years, that fighters, they're a bit of a strange bunch, that they're going to come, you're going to ask them to pay money, and then you're going to punch them, kick them, put them through a workout. Sometimes they're going to be sick, and then they're going to get up, they're going to bow, shake your hand, say thanks very much, and then they'll come back again the next day.
Yeah.
So he said
crazy, isn't it?
they're a strange bunch, but that's fighters for you. But obviously, like we were saying there, they are in the minority. There's not many of those people about, but nevertheless, you got the people who just want to get fit, they want to have fun, they want to learn a bit of self-defense, lose weight, get stronger, just improve skill level. Those people are the huge majority. But I think that's for good reason. Like I say, everybody is a lot more health conscious these days, and they realize because of the popularity, like you've just stated then, that's, you're putting the TV on, you never see a fighter and think, oh wow, he's a bit fat, he's not in very good shape. So it probably gets in people's minds, say, hey, fighting's quite good for getting fit.
Yeah.
And then when they come and have a go, you realize it's quite fun.
Yeah.
I mean, punching and kicking people and hurting people is not necessary in every class. We have separate classes for the sparring and the tech sparring, that the people who are competitive and they do want to take it to that level where they can punch and kick people or strangle each other or whatever they want to do, then you come at this time on that day. Otherwise, when we're doing our work, typically in the normal classes, skill work, we're doing kind of like in what we call the kickboxing classes, like the Dutch style pad work, where you've got your shin pads on, I've got my shin pads on, we both got our gloves on, I punch and kick you, controlled, you punch and kick me. It's a realistic feel then of how it would be in the fight, but with a little bit of control in what we're doing. We're not just kicking lumps out of each other. So you get the skill in a very realistic, specific way, but without the pain.
Yeah.
So it's a nice way to bridge the gap between the guys who climb in here, or of course in the cage, and the guys who are just more recreational athletes, if you like, because they're doing the same stuff, exactly the same stuff. It's just the intensity is altered. That's all.
Yeah. What do you find now? Like, the people that are coming in, are they younger, or our age, or older?
Definitely younger. The main kind of like bread and butter here at this gym is kids.
Yeah.
It's kids. They're all kind of primary school age. We do get some of the high school. I'm not saying we don't get any high school. In fact, that's obviously the second most. But in terms of, if you were to group it in terms of who is the most popular, it's definitely primary school children. Then it becomes high school children. Then it becomes adults. To be honest, there's not many people our age who come, like at 40 years old. Mostly the lads who are, 20s. They are the lads who want to be a little bit, and the girls as well. You might have just seen Nicole then as you were on your way out then. Or she was on her way out as you were away in. She's one of our girl fighters. So it's not totally a male-dominated sport. I mean, again, the likes of, we were talking about Conor McGregor before. You've got people like Ronda Rousey come and kind of like break the door down that, hey, fighting's not just for boys.
Oh, to be fair, a lot of sports, like now, obviously with football, they're trying to get more women coming through, and that is now becoming a big thing as well. And obviously, I think growing up for us, I think me looking for a female sport and a men's sport that were almost on par was tennis. You had the men and you had the women.
Yeah, it's always been like that, hasn't it? Yeah.
Whereas now, I think everything's come like that. And one thing definitely, probably more than the boxing for me, is definitely the mixed martial arts. Yeah. I can name more mixed martial arts female fighters than I would do the boxing side or anything like that, really.
Well, like you were saying before, how Conor McGregor's kind of like broke the door down for MMA to just go to this new level. Well, you'd have to credit somebody like Ronda Rousey for doing that for the girls. And then, like you said, now Ronda Rousey's broke through. Of course, you've got all the girls who followed behind it, and I'm sure there'll be lots more. And it's not uncommon that the UFC fight nights and the big shows will have the girls headline when there's a world title fight. So, like you say, it used to be a case of the girls would be kind of like just somewhere down on the lower card. But now they'll headline with a world title fight. So definitely a lot more equal these days.
Yeah, I mean, I was knocking the boxing a little bit, but even the boxing now, to be fair, like they're headlining it, aren't they now?
Yeah. I saw just the other week. What was the girl there? Katie Trainer, was it? It was on the main card of the boxing. I mean, obviously Tyson Fury's this weekend. I don't actually know what card is going on, or what's going on the undercard this weekend, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's any girls on that. So it's a lot more like level pegging, if you like, these days, and I'm all for it. I mean, I know it's not considered traditionally as a ladylike thing to be rolling around on the floor, punching and elbowing people in the face and getting covered in blood. But hey, everyone's talking about equal rights. So if they want to do it, then let them do it.
I mean, to be fair, when I do a bit of PT and I do a little bit of pad work and that, I'll tell you what, the male and female clients I have, the women are more to punching for some reason. They love the boxing side.
Do you know, in my personal one-to-one lessons, I have quite a lot of ladies, but I don't have many ladies in the class, and I think it's because of the stigma that, big strong men are going to punch and kick me. But actually, when they start performing the skills and doing the techniques, they think this is quite fun. And obviously, there's nothing like a good blast on the pads to get people, burning calories. Something that you might do traditionally in like a half an hour jog on a treadmill. They might do in 5 rounds on the pads in terms of how many calories they're going to burn. So it's a lot more efficient in terms of time. So yeah, it's definitely, like you said at the beginning, it's definitely becoming more and more popular. And it's not just a case of because of somebody is on the forefront like Conor McGregor or Ronda Rousey or whatever. People are actually realizing like, hey, it's quite fun this, and it's a different way of training because, as you know, coming from your game for such a long time, like we just said, then the treadmill. It's boring. It's boring.
I mean, that's what I mean. I don't in my gym. I don't have any treadmills and that. The only thing we have is a ski egg, and they're just like a bit of a finisher, really. So when we do like I've done a bit on arms, I would actually finish on like a battle rope. Or boxing, mostly boxing, because to be fair, to do the boxing side, and from a fitness point of view, one thing that every time when I first put people on pads, they can't believe how hard it is. It's hard work, and I said, and when I do it, I'm basically just letting them just go 10 to 11 hitting me. I'm not saying, imagine if I was trying to hit your back and you have the dog weave and all that. You forget how tough it is. And then they're like, oh yeah, I realise why they give themselves cuddles in the air. And all that.
Because the truth of the matter is, when you've just stood and tried to absolutely kill that fella stood across from you, and you give him everything you can give him, and you know that you've just trained for 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks or whatever, and you are fit, and you've given him everything you can give him, and he's still stood there giving it you back, you've got to respect him. And you can't help it. You think, you just give each other a hug and you think, wow, fair play, mate, because I've just hit you with everything I've got and you still stood there. And obviously they've done it to you. And so, there's a lot of mutual respect. And that's the great thing about combative sport and sport fighting is that, you touch gloves at the end and you touch gloves at the beginning, you touch gloves at the end and then you have a hug and, it's how it should be. Obviously, you're out playing football or whatever, and somebody kicks you in the shin and they have a bit of fisticuffs. It's very, very different then, isn't it? But obviously the way it's all done in professional and of course amateur, competition, it's all correct and it's all how it should be. And I'm very, very, very encouraging of the kids doing it because I like them to use the martial arts as a vehicle, if you like, to be able to kind of release that aggression that we all have built up inside us. We all have stress. We all have, work stress and family stress, relationship stress at the moment, money stress. Stress builds up and our bodies are like pressure cookers and it can get to the point where you could snap and you could end up shouting at your partner and saying something you don't mean, or shouting at the kids because, they're playing too loud or whatever. Or sometimes I find that if you are regularly letting out your stress through punching and kicking the bags or punching and kicking the pads, or sometimes if you've got a mate who's willing, who likes to spar, punching and kicking each other. I mean, me and Kev Ward punch and kick lumps out of each other for like 20 odd years, like literally tried to kill each other, and we're still best mates. But if you're doing it in a sensible, controlled way, it's a very, very good way of regulating all the stress that builds up inside you throughout the day. And I think as a result, the kind of people who we meet here, and I can vouch from any gym up and down the country and all over the world, they're like chilled out, level-headed, decent people.
Yeah.
Because they're regularly letting out their stress through in a what is a very natural way. Human beings are aggressive.
Yeah, we
are
well,
aggressive beings.
That's why there's wars all the time.
Wars all the time, yeah. I mean, we've survived God knows how many millions of years, and you better believe it. There's been a bit of fisticuffs along the way. So it's naturally, it's innate in us to be like that. So I think, obviously, modern society to tell us, like, you're not allowed to be aggressive. You're not allowed to say that. I know it's gone a bit crazy now that you're not allowed to say certain things.
Yeah.
But, when I was a kid, I can remember kicking somebody's football over the fence, and he was a bit of a bigger kid than me, and he said, "Hey, you idiot, go and get my football." And I said, "Hey, shut it, you.
Yeah.
I'm not getting your football." And he punched me in the face.
Yeah.
And I cried, and I went and got his football, and,
Yeah.
it taught me, like, not to be so cheeky and respect him a little bit. But God, this day and age, that would never happen, would it?
No.
It would just never happen now, because of course you're not even allowed to say certain things. But yeah, I'm all for martial arts and getting the kids releasing their aggression in a controlled, sensible way, where everyone shakes hands at the beginning, everyone shakes hands at the end, and yeah, I'm all for it. I think there should be more of it, in all honesty.
I think it's getting there, definitely. I mean, obviously with kids now, it's good that they've got that, because when you're younger, you can't join a gym. I don't know what it's like now in a commercial gym, but I remember you couldn't join a gym till at least 14, 15, 16.
Yeah, I think it is still about 14 years old because of the insurance. And I only know because recently my nephew's 16 and he's joined the gym, and he said his pals have been going since they were 15. Yeah. So it sounds rounds about the same.
So at least it's an opportunity that you can get some kind of exercise, and obviously when you're a kid as well, a bit of control, aggression and stuff, and a little bit of respect, because as parents these days, we tend to be a lot softer, just because of the way society's gone than what it would have been when we were growing up.
Well, that's it. Like we were saying, because you're not allowed to say certain things now. You hear all kinds of funny stories here, because obviously there's lots of children coming through and the parents, and you hear things along the lines of, little Johnny was naughty at home, so mum and dad shouted at him, and then he's gone into school and said, "No, mum and dad are shouting at me all the time," and then social services are coming in involved and investigating, and it gets. I mean, it's good that social services are obviously on the ball and doing stuff like this, but I do feel like it's gone to such an extreme now where telling little Johnny off because he's been naughty, you're going to get a knock at the door from social services. It's a bit far-fetched, to say the least.
It's like with our little one at school. Sometimes she bumps herself, and I've got to fill out these forms. And I'm like, where's the bump? And like I said, like, even if you've bumped yourself, it's just like, I don't know, can't remember. But they have to be so they have to be so careful. So, what would you say? Obviously, I've done a bit of Thai boxing with yourself many years ago, and obviously now you've got the things like jiu-jitsu and that. What would you say is the most demanding side when it comes from a physical aspect, for fitness-wise?
So, that's a good question. So, coming from a Muay Thai background and boxing, so striking background first, I knew how tough that was. And when I had my first day at the Wolf's Lair, we had wrestling on the first session. So straight away, it was what you'd call a baptism of fire. It's quite commonly said that wrestlers are the most conditioned and fit athletes in the world. And I would not argue.
All right.
But saying that, though, Muay Thai is not easy. But the thing about striking martial arts is, you put your effort on when you throw your shot, and then you relax. You put your effort in, and then you relax. You put your effort in. In wrestling, quite a lot of the time, you're in a clinch, so you've got hold of each other. Now, you can relax in little spells when you're clever and you get to know the game a bit, but you're mostly locked up. It's like two stags locking horns. They're in the battle, and if you back off and they feel it, they'll push on and they'll get you. So I would definitely say wrestling specifically, in terms of definitely your cardiovascular and your muscular endurance, wrestling, I would definitely say wrestling. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, although not easy, of course, a lot of the time you are lying on your back. So the floor is behind you, supporting yourself. And again, when you do get your experience and you can switch off and relax and know when to use your effort.
Is there any advantage being really strong in them positions?
For sure. When you are, I mean, I only made this comparison to somebody who's just started with us just a few weeks ago, that he's such a big, strong lad that I said to him, I could have a couple of sessions with you just teaching you good, solid basics about building frames and not allowing people to push onto you. That even after a couple of sessions, he could definitely make my life hell.
Yeah.
And I've been training for 22 years.
Yeah.
And he's, I mean, this lad is an extreme mesomorph. Do you know what I mean? Like one of those guys who you look at twice, like, whoa, he is big.
Yeah.
But strength is definitely an advantage. I mean, it's a bit of a, like the romance of martial arts that, you know, like even how the UFC started with Royce Gracie, you know, like he's going against these massive muscle men like Ken Shamrock. And Royce is only a little bit bigger than me, as you've seen from the picture of him over there with me. But he's only a little bit bigger than me in terms of width. We're exactly the same height, as you can see on the picture from here. But I only get to see him once a year, you know, when he comes over and gives our belts. Like, it's not like I know him personally.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, when you see the size of these guys and he's beating, the romance of martial arts is like the technique and the skill, it always wins.
Yeah.
And it did back then. That's because those bigger, stronger guys who were facing him didn't know the skills and the abilities he's had. And of course, from like 1993, when the UFC had its first show, I think, and then everybody's immediate question was, what's this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah.
How's he just beat him? How? And then it wasn't just like one fight on the night. It was the old, you know, quarterfinal, semi-final, final in one night. So he beat 3 huge guys. So, and then he did it again, of course, and again and again. So it wasn't a fluke. So straight away, all the martial arts players said, hang on a minute, what's this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? What's this magical, mythical martial art? And it was like that in the beginning until over the years, the skills have spread. So now, if you got the small guy and you got the brand new big guy who didn't know nothing, and I'm sure, just like Royce did, he could best him. And then, like I say, if you get somebody, say like me, and you get this big giant, say, right, here's what you need to do. You need to look at this, that, and the other in your first few weeks. Then after the first month, a little bit of that. He could straight away take the guys who have got, you know, a couple of years of experience and straight away neutralize them, because strength is a huge advantage. And although they don't like to admit that, because it kind of destroys the romance of the martial art, the beautiful art and the technique will always win. Well, what about when he knows the same stuff you know, but he's bigger and stronger? So you can't overlook that.
What makes that going to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Because that seems to be
the main grappling art.
The main grappling art, is it? What's so special about that compared to the other parts of it?
Well, I would describe it like this, that I always say that first and foremost, boxing is the most important part of all fighting, because of course a fight can start and finish, ding ding, round 1, one punch, 1 second, boom. Now, of course, you could, if you were being particular about it, say that. You could say that about kickboxing and Thai boxing. I mean, I think of Jorge Masvidal and Ben Askren, and it was 1 second, and he ran in and done the flying knee, and then of course he was knocked out horribly. So you could say the same about Thai boxing, but striking, you know, a fight can finish in 1 strike. We always start at a distance. So that would be for the striker's advantage. Now, the old saying in fighting is that you have to grapple a striker, but you should strike a grappler. So that means, of course, the striker wants to keep you at arm's length and keep you away so he can hit you, whereas the grappler has to get hold of you. But to get from here to here, you've got to come through this. So it's not so easy, but one of the counters ideas to that, and what I will quite often talk about in my coaching, is that it's much harder to maintain distance than it is to close it. Because if I'm the striker and you're the wrestler, I've got to keep you there for 5 minutes. If you get in on me once, they don't typically let go of them. I mean, you see the classic striker against grappler in, who we talked about today, Conor McGregor, when he fought Khabib. Once he got hold of him, he never let go of him. He got him down, he dragged him down to the deep water, and he wouldn't let him up. And rightly so, because obviously with 1 punch or 1 kick, he could knock him out. But of course, he knows that, so he put him down, didn't let him back up. So obviously a lot of strategies and tactics involved in it. It's...
Has one got more advantage?
Again, this is a bit of an age-old argument. I would say, if everything was equal, if you had, I don't know, your 10 years wrestling, and I had 10 years wrestling, you had 10 years boxing, and everything was equal, then I would say it would come down to your strategic and tactical approach to how you apply it during the contest. If you were to get, well, I suppose this is what the UFC was, how it came about. I mean, I don't know if you know your history about the the Gracies and how it came about. But they used to have their own like little gym or a few little gyms like this, and they used to put ads in the local paper to say to all the local martial artists and tough guys, hey, if you come, we'll give you $100 if you can fight our guy. But the only deal is that if we win, it's of course all on video, and we have the rights to kind of post the video to show the effectiveness of our martial art kind of thing. So, I mean, you can put it on YouTube, Gracie Challenge fights. There's flipping God knows how many of them. You get all kinds of people. Big guys, little guys, karate guys, boxers, wrestlers, sambo, judo, everybody. All of them get beat. And they get dragged down to the floor and they're getting choked or they're getting arm locked and they're having to tap out. Some of the guys would jump up and say like, hey, that's not fair. You just got me looking. Let's go again. So they just say, yeah, right. If you want to go again and get them again, get them again. So eventually they thought, well, this is great on a local level. We're getting the word out, but we need to think of kind of a way of how we can get this out to the world, the message. So that's how the UFC came about, that they could get an international show and show, hey, you can have this big wrestler. You can have this sumo wrestler. You can have this kickboxer from France. You can have this. And our guy's going to win it. And then, of course, that's how it all happened. All fights in one night. And then, they got to show you that, hey, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a very, very effective martial art. But nowadays, it's not like that because everybody, the cat is out the bag from those early days. Everybody knows that you must have rounded skill sets in all areas, because if you don't, it won't take long for your opponent to find out where your weak area is. And then the old kind of adage is, don't fight fire with fire, fight fire with ice. Yeah. If he's a good striker and you're a good striker, but you get hold of him and you think, this guy can't wrestle, then wrestle him. Go with the path of least resistance. And that's a phrase that I'll often tell our fighters, that, hey, if you're having a move around with this guy and he feels like he's strong with the striking, go and take him down, see what he's like on the floor. If you feel like he's not so strong on the floor, keep it on the floor. If you take him down, you think, oh God, hang on, he's stronger on the floor than he is stood up, then go back, stood up, and go wherever the path of least resistance is. So again, it's it's not an easy question to answer what you said there, but all things being equal with equal skills, again, you're going to have to apply it on a kind of ad hoc, kind of see how it goes at the moment. So yeah, not an easy.
It's like most sports, isn't it? It's a strategy, isn't it? Really.
Yes.
Like what's the weakness? What we better at, and how can we possibly get a result in this?
Obviously, was it the Germany and Japan?
Yeah.
If going into that World Cup game, was it last week?
Yeah.
Nobody had picked Japan to beat Germany.
No.
Nobody. But obviously, it can happen, and that's one of the things that makes fighting so exciting, because
quite a few big fighters have just lost, haven't they? I remember rightly, people that you wouldn't have thought they were lost have lost, come to an end.
Yeah, one of my sayings is that there's only one certainty in fighting, and that one certainty is there are no certainties. Yeah. Because you get this guy, like, he's on a tear, he's knocked the last 10 people out, and he's fighting this up and comer. He's only had 5 fights in the UFC. This guy's definitely going to win. And then bang, this guy knocks him out. Yeah. You're like, you can never ever ever say that something is a certainty in fighting. You just can't.
Yeah, well, that's what makes it exciting, though.
It is. I've seen it all happen, mate. I've seen it all happen, and we've been in those fights where we saw, we're going to get this one, and then bash, and think, damn.
Like you say, it only takes one punch.
One punch, one kick, one knee, one elbow. That's it, mate. We've done it for so long now that we just don't even say these things anymore. Yeah, we just know. But of course, like we said, it's what makes it exciting. It's why people like watching it.
Brilliant. So Andy, what's the best way to find you and find your gym here and that?
So here, Team Elite is on Shakespeare Street. We have our social media channels. Our Instagram is Team Elite UK. Our Facebook is Team Elite Southport. We can be contacted via the old traditional phone. I know not many people do that these days, or send a message. So we've got 077 258 54923. That's the gym's number here. But yeah, anybody's welcome to come down and train with us. I hear a lot of people say stuff like, oh yeah, you like train professional fighters and stuff, don't you? And they think like they have to be really good. But like we said earlier in the video, the majority of people who come through our door are just Joe average, Joe public, the kids, women who just come for fitness, fun and self-defense. So fighters are only a very, very tiny portion of our people who come here.
Well, one of the things, the reason why I talk to so many different people in the fitness industry is I think everything has a place. Anything that gets you fit, makes you feel good, gives that endorphins, works the most important muscle in your body, which is your heart, is all going to be great for you.
Yeah, mate, definitely. So it doesn't matter how you get your kicks, whether you're a runner or a hockey player or you like punching and kicking and strangling your friends. Good on you. Whatever it is, more power to you. You get doing it.
That's it. Andy,
Nice
appreciate
one,
it, mate. It's been brilliant.
Thanks very much.